election results in England tomorrow from 6. Former Britain's Got Talent stuntman Jonathan Goodwin and his fiancée Amanda Abington join Lorraine at 9. Jordan North and William Hanson are on this morning from 10. And Kelsey Parker, wife of the late singer Tom Parker, joins The Loose Women at 12:30. Now the latest from ITV News in the West Country with Ellie Louise Ringe and Jonty Messer.
Hello and welcome to Thursday's programme.
Coming up tonight between now and 6:30. Work starts on a £500,000 revamp of Clevedon seafront, but not everyone's happy with the changes.
I think it's going to cause more disruption for local people. I think it's going to deter people coming to the town. To me, it seems very unfair.
Also tonight, we're live at Badminton Horse Trials as the world's best compete for the title.
Also be live in Bristol as the Flyers prepare for only their second ever championship semi-final.
And flying doctors, as you've never seen them before, how this Wiltshire inventor's jetpack could help save lives.
Good evening. A row has broken out in Clevedon over plans to alter its famous seafront. Parking will be reduced and a one-way system and cycle lane added. North Somerset Council says the scheme will make the area safer for cyclists and pedestrians. But many local people argue it will put people off coming to Clevedon. Well, Karen Bell is live there for us this evening. And Karen, the seafront is a real draw for people, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, Ellie, and especially on a day like today when the weather has been so lovely. In fact, there are even people swimming here a little earlier. And when many visitors arrive in Clevedon, a lot of them try to get a parking space here, right along the beach. They don't have to walk very far if they can get one of those spaces. However, as of this autumn, a lot of the parking spaces here will be going and they'll be replaced by a really wide cycle lane. There'll be new pedestrian crossings, a new one-way traffic system and a lower speed limit, 20 miles an hour. Now, to put it lightly, this new traffic scheme is controversial.
Clevedon, where the sea might be calm, but a storm is brewing. The town's famous seafront is about to be altered to this. Fewer parking spaces, a cycle lane, one-way 20-mile-an-hour traffic. North Somerset Council says the scheme will encourage more walking and cycling, but some residents and traders are furious and want it scrapped. The ones I met say it will damage Clevedon.
There's a lot of people who are disabled, who have less access, and they can come, and as you've probably filmed today, there's plenty of parking here for them to come and park. And I said, if you're taking that away from them, they can't come and enjoy their fish and chips on the seafront. To me, it seems very unfair.
I have no problem with cycle lanes, but they need to have a purpose. This is 400 yards, doesn't go anywhere, and it's got 3 pedestrian crossings on it.
Oh, it's going to wreck the actual vista of the seafront. I mean, people come to Clevedon, to actually look at the Victoriana.
Up the road is the pub, where landlord Tony is worried that less parking will mean less trade.
We're going to lose a lot of money. We pay a lot of rates. And I'm looking at it thinking, are the council going to reimburse me some of this?
Tony is joined by local MP Liam Fox, another opponent of the plans.
I think it will be damaging for the hospitality industry in the region, and I think it will be inconvenient and possibly dangerous.
The scheme is costing £500,000. It will increase Clevedon's parking overall, but away from the seafront. The work on this stretch will start in the autumn, out of the main holiday season.
This is the other end of the scheme, Hill Road, where roadworks have already started. And what they're doing is dividing the carriageway in 2. So that side is going to be a single one-way lane for traffic. And then this side is going to be a wide, separated cycle lane.
It's all part of what North Somerset Council calls its commitment to promoting healthier lifestyles and tackling the climate emergency. It argues that less traffic will make the streets and seafront more attractive. The cycle lane will link with one all the way to Weston.
So I honestly think, as part of the world we're in now, it is important that we take these measures towards active travel. We will keep reviewing them. And if we feel we've got it badly wrong, we can look at how we can amend it.
Clevedon's seafront hasn't changed much in 100 years, but by next year, the view here could be very different. Karen Bell, ITV News.
Voters in 3 council areas across the West have been heading to the polls to elect local councillors. In Somerset, a new council is being elected to replace the county council. Seats are also being contested in Swindon and in Cheltenham.
Meanwhile, people in Bristol are being asked to vote on how the city council should be run, either by an elected mayor or by committees of elected councillors. Polls close at 10 o'clock tonight.
Next tonight, thousands of people have been gathering at the Badminton Horse Trials in Gloucestershire as the international dressage competition gets underway.
The event was cancelled during the pandemic. The return of the world's best riders and their horses has proved a very popular draw for equestrian fans right across the region. Our reporter Victoria Davis has spent the day there, joins us live from Badminton now. And Victoria, I imagine people are pretty excited when the competition got underway for the first time in 3 years.
Absolutely, people incredibly happy here today, helped of course by this glorious weather. Now this is the pinnacle of the eventing calendar, and on day 1 of the competition it was all about dressage, which is the ballet and gymnastics of the equestrian world. And I've got to tell you that the riders certainly didn't disappoint. But for many people here today, it's not just about the competition, it's about finally being back at a major event and enjoying everything that badminton has to offer.
With thousands of people, the sun shining and world-class competition, organisers say this year's Badminton Horse Trials has all the ingredients to make it one of the best yet.
I think it really is genuinely very busy, and people are sort of trying to absorb all the fact of being back here, and I think, you know, trying to catch every moment of it. It's just wonderful, and even the park itself is smiling, I think.
It's 3 years since we were last here, so we've got all the top riders with their top horses who are dying to come back and see badminton once again. And we've got probably one of the strongest set of competitors that we've had here for a long, long time.
Today was the first day of the competition, where riders from all over the world had to demonstrate their skill in the dressage ring. Gloucestershire's Olympic gold medalist Laura Tomlinson wasn't competing today, but instead delighted the crowds with a performance. And as an Olympian, she knows the pressure of major events all too well.
If you are competing in that ring, I can tell you there'll be a lot of butterflies in the riders' tummies that are warming up and preparing to go in there, because this is such an important event for them and a big occasion. And that's another thing. You have to really have a good partnership with your horse, because your horse has to cope with your nerves, you have to cope with the horse's nerves. So it's really about the rider and the horse giving each other that support when they go into those big occasions.
While many people enjoyed watching riders, others were happy to simply soak up the atmosphere.
Sun's shining and everybody seems to be having a lovely time. Crowds are out.
It's the first time I've ever been. We came down yesterday and absolutely fantastic. What a great atmosphere.
It's really great. It's buzzing and the sun's shining and we're all very happy.
The weather's brilliant, the riders are all here, the jumps look amazing, and yeah, it's just fantastic.
Organisers say they've been surprised by how busy the first 2 days have been, but badminton regulars say after a 2-year absence, they're just glad it's back. Victoria Davis, ITV News.
Yeah, it is lovely to see it back, isn't
absolutely.
it? Now, just a reminder, the ITV News continues with the national and international stories at 6:30. Here's Mary Nightingale with the details.
Coming up on the programme, yet another squeeze on households and businesses. A gloomy forecast from the Bank of England today as they raise interest rates and warn worse is yet to come. The mother of baby P will be released after a government effort to keep her in jail failed. The Queen pulls out of more events due to her mobility issues. And how these jetpacks could get paramedics to the top of a mountain in just a few minutes. Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
And stay with us, because we will have plenty more on the jetpack paramedics in just a few minutes. There's plenty more as well, including Carrie, who's live in Bristol. As Carrie, the Flyers get ready for their all-important semi-final.
Yes, John T, they've invited us along to their final training session before their semi-finals against London Lions. If they can win over 2 legs, they'll be in their first BBL Championship final in their history.
And Charlie's at the Met Office with the weather. Charlie, it's been a gorgeous day, hasn't it? Is there more to come?
There's a bit more to come. Yes, some stonking temperatures. Bit of a blip tomorrow, but the weekend looks fine. Stay tuned.
But next on our programme, is enough being done to prosecute people whose behaviour towards their partners is so controlling it's recognised as a form of domestic abuse?
It's estimated tens of thousands of people are suffering from such abuse, and one of those was ITV weather presenter Ruth Dodsworth.
Hello there. I can hear you, yeah.
For almost 2 decades, her then husband threatened and manipulated her, calling her dozens of times a day, checking her phone and even turning up where she worked. In court, he admitted coercive and controlling behaviour and is now in prison. For ITV's Tonight programme, Ruth has been investigating and meeting people who've had similar experiences to her.
In the very early days, we'd only been with each other for maybe 6 months. He started going out a lot, but if I questioned him, he would be very, very, very defensive about it. You know, how dare you ask me? I'm just out with my friends. But I did at the time think that was quite strange, that I wasn't allowed to have a conversation about where you're going.
It is the most dangerous form of domestic abuse that there is. It is the form that is most likely to lead to serious harm and even to homicide. So we have to be able to identify it, and we have to be able to recognise when it's escalating and things are getting more dangerous.
And Ruth joins me now. Ruth, some very powerful stories we've just heard there. We have briefly outlined what happened to you. Can you just try to give us an idea what sort of behaviour that you faced and how it built up over time?
Yeah, so the pattern of abuse, if you like, that I experienced over the course of 20 years is what I now know is called coercive and controlling behaviour. It's a form of domestic abuse, if you like, but it's slightly less visible, I suppose, is the best way of putting it. So, you know, you might not have bruises at the end of the day, but over the course of, well, in my case, 20 years, you suddenly realise that you've effectively lost everything: contact with friends, with family, emotional isolation, financial isolation, which sounds like such a trivial thing, but when you haven't got any money or access to money, you effectively have no means of getting out. And so, you know, looking back, it's obvious what was going on, but a coercive controlling behaviour is so subtle.
Yeah, and Ruth, anyone who knows you, anyone who's seen you on the TV, knows you as a really bright, bubbly personality. You're always smiling. Presumably, people at work watching or watching on TV wouldn't have known anything was wrong. And in the same way, many of us might miss the signs if someone we knew was facing something similar.
And I think that's the worrying side of it, isn't it? Yes, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my friends. I didn't tell my family, my colleagues at ITV. No one knew anything about it. And I think, in a sense, from my point of view, that was almost a sense of preservation. I didn't want to admit, not only to myself but to the outside world, that things weren't quite as wonderful as maybe I was portraying. And as you mentioned, you know, I've done weather and for ITV for, well, far too long to admit, basically 25 years. And, you know, there's an expectation, isn't there? We look at people and we think, gosh, what a lovely life they've got. And anybody, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 6 men at some point in their lifetime will be involved in an abusive relationship. And I think that's just really, really chilling. These conversations, so it doesn't matter how uncomfortable they are so important to have, because at the end of the day, they save lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, Ruth, this was a 20-year experience for you. How are you doing now?
Do you know, I have to say, I'm doing really, really well. I mean, it's day by day. Every day is different. But I just want to say to anybody watching this right now who thinks that either they or someone they know is in an abusive relationship, making that call for help is the hardest thing to do, but it might just save your life or someone around you. And actually, there is life after domestic abuse and coercive controlling behaviour. And let me be that person to show you that actually you can go on and have a very, very happy life. And that's exactly what me and my children are doing now. Life is really good.
Yeah, and Ruth, it's just lovely to see you smiling again. Thank you so much for coming on the programme, sharing your story.
Thank you so much.
And you can see Ruth's film in full on the Tonight programme, Controlled by My Partner, The Hidden Abuse. That's this evening at 8:30 here on ITV.
If you would like support after listening to that report, then do go to our website this evening, go to itv.com/westcountry. We've put links to organisations there who can help. Now, there are calls for the government to step in and address the growing confidence gap between students from state and private schools.
New research shows that state-educated students in our region expect to be paid 12% less than their privately educated peers. Catherine Walker has this report.
Private school versus state school. There's long been concerns about the difference in grades, access to opportunities and job prospects. But now research shows it's also a gap in confidence that could put students like Abigail at a disadvantage.
You know, people do say your network is a big part of how to get internships and jobs. Networking is becoming more and more important. Sort of in private school, partly to do with smaller class sizes, maybe to do with backgrounds, they sort of have more confidence maybe than state schooled. So if your parents have sort of high-flying jobs, then it might be easier to get an internship.
It's a gap that university student Mia is all too aware of. She went to private school where there was a big focus on soft skills like presenting and public speaking.
I think probably subconsciously it becoming your norm that, you know, the person next to you is just asking a question in front of a room full of however many people. I think if it becomes your norm, then it just becomes part of habit and you don't necessarily realise that it's happening and that is building the confidence.
New figures suggest that state-educated students are struggling to get the same opportunities as their privately educated peers. Only half of state school students manage to get an internship, compared to 2/3 of people from private schools. And when they do get a job, they expect to earn £3,000 less than those with a private education.
I think what was interesting for me in the report is it's built around people's expectations, right? So that's their mindset. So that's the belief that you're not going to get something in comparison to, say, somebody who's grown up in an environment where they've always been encouraged to go for what they want. So those fundamental skills are foundational skills to any successful career. So it is confidence, it is being able to communicate.
It's this skills gap that worries James from the Social Mobility Society at the University of Bristol.
In terms of opportunities for students after university, in terms of levelling the playing field, I'm in favour of a privately educated students cap at universities. So they'd be capped off in numbers at the national average, which is around 6-7%. And that would allow for a bigger spread of students across all the universities of the UK.
In a statement, the Department of Education said every student from every walk of life deserves the chance to build a thriving career. We've tasked universities to set ambitious targets on getting students from disadvantaged backgrounds into high-paid, high-skilled jobs. Confidence and contacts can make a huge difference to the job hunt. As Mia and Abigail prepare to graduate, they hope a change in policy will change their prospects. Catherine Walker, ITV News.
Now, Bristol Flyers basketball team are preparing for their BBL Championship semi-finals. They host London Lions tomorrow for the first leg, and tonight is their last training session before the biggest game of the season.
Well, our sports reporter Carrie Davis is at SGS College in Stoke Gifford, where the team play. Carrie, it'll be a sellout there tomorrow.
Yes, Ellie, it will indeed. They sold out in less than 36 hours, the fastest they've ever sold out for a game here. Granted, there are only 750 seats available, but the team has said that they could have sold many, many more for tomorrow's game. Now, of course, lots of those fans are also volunteers. They're people that help put on matches like tomorrow. The club wouldn't be what it is without them. One of them is Christian Hill. He's been following and helping Flyers for more than a decade.
I kind of do lots of different jobs. I've done kind of everything, from sort of, helping set up the court to on the PA, the mic.
Getting the crowd going.
Yeah, getting the crowd going. And that's the biggest thing. Like, the atmosphere is unbelievable at Wise. The last team that did really, really well, it was the 2017-18 season where we beat Newcastle in the playoffs. We didn't start great, but we sort of worked and worked and worked. This was really, my favourite team, bar this year's.
And do you think this year's team can go one better than these guys?
I really do. I think that We've got an opportunity to beat London, to be in the BBL final. Yeah, we just need to grasp it, and why not?
Well, he's been following Flyers for 10 years, so he should know. Now, we can go and have a word with Coach. Coach, if we can just grab you for a second. Thank you so much for having a chat with us. Last training session before two of the biggest games of the season. What do you do with a night like tonight?
Just going through our plan, preparing. You know, there's going to be excitement. Of course, there is going to be. And, you know, I think for now it's just focusing on the little things, what we want to do in terms of our execution on offense and defense.
You've met London Lions 7 times, beaten them only once. It's going to be a tough ask, isn't it, especially over 2 legs?
Well, they're a very talented team. Everyone was expecting them to do really well this season. They haven't done as well as they would have liked to. We have been to them in the last fixture. We're going with confidence. We had to take out a very tough Manchester team, and we know the 2 London games are not going to be easy. But we really believe in our team. We have toughness, we have resilience, we have togetherness, and that's very important.
And, you know, do you dare to dream at this stage, making the final for the first time ever? That would be pretty incredible.
It would be incredible. We want to stay in the moment. Certainly, like, you know, being in the O2 in a full 17,000 seats arena is going to be an amazing feeling and a great moment for the club. But we've got 2 games of basketball to play first before we think about that.
OK, not getting ahead of yourself. All the very best of luck. I'm sure whatever happens, it'll be a fantastic atmosphere here tomorrow. We really do wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so absolutely, like I say, 750 people in here tomorrow. All these seats will be full. It's going to be a good one.
It certainly is. Kerry Davis in Stoke Gifford, thank you. Now, imagine this, flying paramedics able to rescue you on the top of a mountain. No, this isn't the storyline out of a fantasy film. This could be reality.
Yeah, it's all thanks to Wiltshire-based inventor Richard Browning. The technology's been developed over the last 5 years or so, and one air ambulance paramedic tried it out earlier this morning, as Ellie Barker now reports.
No, this isn't the set of a Hollywood movie. This is real life and potentially real life danger.
Because it is such a ludicrous capability. I mean, genuinely, before the start, just earlier today, looking at the size of the mountain I had to fly, hidden away in the mist, and we'd walked it the day before, I was still struggling to believe that you can actually ascend it in less than 4 minutes.
Yes, you heard that right. They're trialling it here in the Lake District. A 750-metre route up Helvellyn Mountain would take an hour to walk, but today it took just 3 minutes and 40 seconds.
So in terms of critical care response, if you think about a cardiac patient or a casualty who has got a blood loss or breathing difficulty, and they are up the top of, or even halfway up one of these mountains, there's often circumstances where helicopters can't respond, can't get to the patient, and otherwise you're back to walking up the pathways, and Helvellyn in that case is over an hour's walk. This is doing it in a matter of minutes, so that's potentially life or death to those kind of cases. Yeah.
And they went one further. Jamie here is one of 3 paramedics being trained to use it.
So that was great. I mean,
felt super comfortable.
Your stability and stuff is excellent.
Safe the whole time. Getting that power setting at the start when you've got maximum sort of manoeuvrability with the vector of the thrust.
Richard Browning grew up in Taunton and now lives in Salisbury in Wiltshire. He's been developing the technology over the last 5 years and says it can be used in all weathers.
Within minutes or a minute of taking off, I disappeared into clouds so bad that both drones involved gave up. In fact, there's still one on the mountain. I was fine.
Those walking today say the idea brings comfort to the sometimes treacherous conditions.
You know, difference of 50 minutes or so, difference between life and death.
I mean, you wouldn't want to call, but if you could think, oh, jetpack guy is going to be here, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
In 3 minutes, someone's here to help. It'd be really good.
So really, could Jetpack Guy be part of our landscape, helping to rescue people across places like Exmoor soon? More trials are needed, but Richard Browning says his dream is a day closer to becoming a reality, a way of helping to make sure more people have a safe return home. Ellie Barker, ITV News.
Those pictures are incredible,
I
aren't
just
they?
love to be the person. So what do you do for a job? You say, oh, well, I'm a paramedic and I fly a jetpack. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Let's get you the forecast now. Is it weather for jetpacking? Feels like it's been that today, Charlie. It's been quite nice, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been really nice, but yeah, all-weather jetpack sounds pretty good, doesn't it? I'll get some one of those, I think. Yeah, gorgeous weather today, a lot of sunshine, pretty much from the word go, bit of cloud around, but high temperatures, 21 in Larkhill in Wiltshire. That's pretty good going, isn't it? The average is around about 16. We can cross back to Clevedon though now. Let's have a look at how things are shaping up there this evening, looking out towards the pier from the Somerset coastline instead. Still nice and warm, still nice and bright, nice slight seas, a very calm outlook for most of us as we head through this evening. Now, away from the weather, more of your wildlife coming through. Take a look at this cheeky fox here. Eyes down towards the bottom right of your screen there, having a little bit of a feed in Roger's front garden in the Forest of Dean. Scampers off and then thinks, actually, I might have a bit more of that. In a while, starts to return and just heads back underneath that gate and then gets a bit of a spook for some reason as they work their way across that lawn. But yeah, a lot of this coming through. It's brilliant. Keep sending it through. The address is there on screen. I'm finding it fascinating seeing what you can see from your gardens after hours. Away from wildlife, plenty of gorgeous colour and sights and smells actually in our woodlands. Not just bluebells now, but wild garlic as well. And the combination of that sea of blue and the sea of white, and the smell of that garlic is quite something. Add into the mix, bit of running water, bit of sunshine, maybe a companion to share it with. It sounds just the ticket to me for a little bit of peace and quiet.
Feels like home, whatever the weather. Vaillant Boilers and Heat Pumps sponsors ITV West Country Weather.
So then the rest of this week is relatively quiet. It's been a fine day today. It'll stay dry as we head through tonight. Cloudier skies tomorrow, a couple outbreaks of rain pushing through as well. Then into the weekend, high pressure re-establishes itself and we're in for some pretty fine weather. In fact, high pressure's been with us today. That's why it's been so nice and sunny and dry and quite warm as well. But this front is pushing through on Friday. It's a weakening feature. Once it's gone through, the high pressure's still there. It just pushes more bodily across the whole of the UK for the weekend. And probably into the start of next week as well, I would have thought. So yes, a fine evening to come. So a bit of warmth out there as well. Not a desperately cold night, even though it will be dry with pretty light winds and some clear skies. I think most of us will see temperatures holding in double figures. The countryside will be down to 7 or 8 Celsius. Bit of cloud coming and going, a few mist patches as well. But some early sunshine as we wake up on Friday morning. We're just going to see a little bit more cloud building as we head through the daytime. As we head into the afternoon, we might start to see just 1 or 2 outbreaks of rain, just nudging into the western side of Somerset and Dorset. Temperatures a little bit lower as well. Not as much sunshine, slightly fresher winds, temperatures nearer probably 16 or 17 Celsius. There is that front just working its way in, so we might see a few more outbreaks of rain a little bit later in the afternoon or evening on Friday. But once that's through, high pressure then gives us a pretty brilliant weekend, really dry, a lot of sunshine and some decent temperatures, at least the high teens. It will stay really quite warm into the start of next week as well. And if you can get out and enjoy some of that sunshine, there's a lot to enjoy, not just wildlife, not just bluebells now either. Plenty of wild garlic starting to work its way out through the forest floor, as Gary saw in the Forest of Dean.
Vaillant sponsors ITV West Country Weather.
Charlie, thank you very much. Well, it's goodbye from all of us. I'll have the late news at 10:30.
After the break, the ITV News continue, but we'll leave you some more lovely shots from Clevedon this evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.